who loves Loki? Or rather, who doesn't love Loki? Thor's little brother might be far from the good guy, but he's charismatic, smart, handsome, ambitious, arrogant, driven, sentimental, and mischievous. He's also played with effortless swagger by Tom Hiddleston in the Marvel movies, and all of those characteristics are way more compelling than an old-fashioned sense of justice and equality, at least in the MCU, I'll tell you that much. Since he took the MCU by storm in the first movie, Hiddleston's Loki has been a fan favourite who's lost none of his sheen in the 10 years since. It's no wonder he's getting his own TV series, which is expected to be out this summer on Disney+. And there's already speculation of a second season, such as Loki's Stardom. As us fans count down to the TV series, let's take a look at some of this lovable rascal's most magnetic movie moments. The TV Regent presents the top 10 Badass Loki Moments. Before we begin, make sure you like and subscribe, and also follow me on Twitter at TV Regent.
Sir, please put down the spear.
So let's start with an obvious one, Loki's arrival on Earth in 2012's The Avengers. Everyone loves a good entrance, and the God of Mischief doesn't disappoint. Using the space portal opened up by the Tesseract, Loki infiltrates the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. He leads no army. He has just one weapon, a mysterious staff with a glowing blue tip. He looks gaunt. His sunken eyes speak clearly of the effort it took him to get the Tesseract. And yet, despite being far from his best, his tongue is as sharp as ever, his arrogance is sky high.
I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with glorious purpose.
Addressing Nick Fury, he adds for good measure,
An ant has no quarrel with a boot.
Classic Loki. There's hardly a scene in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where Loki doesn't deliver one or more memorable lines. When he takes control of the minds of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, including Hawkeye, and walks off with a Tesseract facing almost no resistance, you can only be in awe of this supreme being.
Freedom. Freedom is life's great lie. Once you accept that, in your heart, you will know peace.
In the aftermath of the battle, I went into the temple and I found a baby. Abandoned, suffering, left to die. Laufey's son.
Laufey's son.
At number 9 is the moment Odin tells Loki that he's not his flesh and blood, but the survivor of a vanquished kingdom that he took him. The direction Loki's character takes through the course of the movies is primarily the result of his relationship with his Asgardian family. His admiration of Odin is constantly at war with his desperation for his approval and his resentment that his father favours his brother Thor more. In this scene, Loki shows us all of the hurt, grief, betrayal, and anger that he's feeling. We're used to seeing Loki being clever, cocky, scheming, ruthless even, but his honesty here is so rare and so raw, it does command your sympathy. As he rants at Odin for lying to him and accusing him of using him, you can't help but hurt for the scared child whose world has come crumbling around him. This is one of the most memorable scenes from the first Thor movie, which hit theatres way back in 2011. In his debut, Hiddleston's Loki strikes that delicate balance between menacing and misunderstood.
So I am no more than another stolen relic, locked up here until you might have use of me.
Why'd you twist my words?
You could have told me what I was from the beginning. Why didn't you?
You're my son. I wanted only to protect you from the truth.
Your savior is here!
Drop the tissues because at number 8, we welcome back the showman Loki. In 2017, Thor Ragnarok took Marvel fans by surprise with its wit and humour. It showed us that superhero movies could be absurd and silly, but in a good way. It turned Thor into a more relatable hero and, rather shockingly, made Hulk a comic genius. And it also gave Loki the perfect opportunity to showcase his flair for the dramatic. The moment comes towards the end of the movie. Asgard is in all kinds of trouble thanks to Hela and a giant dog. Relishing his role as hero and messiah, Loki arrives in the nick of time, standing atop a giant spaceship, his figure an unmistakable horn helmet shrouded in fog. Your saviour is here, he announces to Asgard. Loki isn't like any hero you've seen, even the flashiest ones. Even when he's doing the right thing, he can't help but be smirky, sarcastic, over the top, and just basically arrogant. What's more, his getaway spacecraft is a stolen vehicle. As far as rescue acts go, Loki's in Ragnarok is as epic as it gets.
I think we should disband the Avengers.
Hit her with a lightning blast.
I just hit her with the biggest lightning blast in the history of lightning. It did nothing.
So what do we do?
I'm not doing get help.
Next up is Loki's riot act in Stuttgart in the Avengers. Following his theft of the Tesseract, the Avengers follow Loki to the German city, where he's crashed a black tie event to steal iridium, a rare element that can help stabilize the Tesseract. With the iridium safely in his custody, he's now terrorizing the poor attendants. As an antagonist, Loki leaves a strong impression. He's all menace when he demands the crowd's subjugation and attempts to kill a man who refuses to kneel before him. The German setting and Loki's invocation of a familiar authoritarian figure is hard to miss, but Hiddleston makes it work. While we might love Loki for being an articulate and charming rogue, this moment reminds us that he is also ruthless, evil, and power-hungry. His eventual tame surrender to the Avengers should have been a letdown, if not for the fact that it was always part of his plan. While he has many talents, Loki is first and foremost a master manipulator. He can scheme his way in and out of any situation. In this scene, he plays Captain America, Iron Man, S.H.I.E.L.D. and the rest of the heroes like a fiddle, and not for the last time.
I, Loki, Prince of Asgard, do hereby pledge to you my undying.
At number 6, we have Loki dying in Avengers Infinity War. Fans will remember this 2018 movie as the one that killed off their favourite. When the dust settled, they had a million questions. Was Loki really and truly dead, or had he faked his death again? Loki's opponent this time was Thanos, which seemed to answer their questions, because when you're up against the Mad Titan, the only certainty is death. Loki certainly knew this, and knowing it, he managed to leave his fans one last moment to cherish. This scene has every shade of Loki. There's the hero standing up to an impossible villain. There's the loving brother sacrificing himself so that Thor can live. There's the trickster selling himself to Thanos as a possible guide to Earth. And then there's the man of words dishing out one last haunting line.
You will never be a god.
Yet another quotable quote, or was there more to it? Yet again, the Marvel community went into a frenzy, speculating on the hidden meaning behind these dying words. Whatever the meaning or motive, there's no denying that Loki's final and permanent death will remain in our memories forever.
You really are the worst, brother.
I assure you, brother, the sun will shine on us again.
All this because Loki desires a throne.
It is my birthright.
Your birthright was to die as a child, cast out onto a frozen rock.
In the number 5 spot is another momentous declaration from Marvel's marvelous wordsmith. It's the "It's my birthright" line from 2013's Thor: The Dark World. The movie starts off with Odin sentencing Loki to spending the rest of his life in the Asgardian dungeons. The acrimonious father-son relationship now seems beyond repair. As Odin accuses Loki of desiring his throne, any throne for that matter, the younger man, bristling with righteous anger, hollers back that it's his birthright. Loki has never tried to hide his desire to be the ruler of Asgard. It's an ambition he's conspired and fought for his whole adult life. It's what drives him, and this line he utters at the beginning of The Dark World extends to the rest of the movie, in which he schemes up an elaborate play for the throne. When he turns into the good guy and teams up with Thor to defeat the villainous Malekith, it's all in service of his ultimate goal. Does Loki play this Game of Thrones right? You'll have to watch the movie to find out. All I can say is that the little twist at the end will have you curling your lips in awe of the trickster god.
No. Thank you.
Next up is Loki's escape from the Helicarrier in the Avengers. Following the events of Stuttgart and his subsequent imprisonment on the Helicarrier, Loki plans his escape. Just like his calculated capture, his escape plan is a masterstroke, just the kind you'd expect from this devious deity. Again, all in the service of his great dream to rule Earth. The sequence of events that follows shows the absolute genius of Loki's powers of manipulation. With a brainwashed Hawkeye working on crashing the carrier on his behalf, Loki does what he does best: playing mind games. That he's trapped inside a confinement capsule built to hold the Hulk doesn't matter in the slightest. With his mere presence, he destroys the fragile unity between the Avengers, turning them against each other and bringing about chaos. It's just the disruption he needs to walk to freedom, which he does right after tricking Thor into entering the capsule and sending him into freefall and causing the death of Agent Coulson, who tries to stop him from escaping. In the entire sequence, Loki barely lifts a finger, and yet he almost manages to turn the Avengers into their own worst enemy.
No!
Are you ever not going to fall for that? Thor. After all this time, and now you come to visit me.
Now you see me, brother.
At number 3, we finally get a moment between Thor and Loki. The story of the half-brothers, one the true offspring of Odin and the other an adopted son, lies at the emotional heart of the Thor movies. Thor's always loved Loki and treated him as family. Loki too loves Thor, but in his own way. This love is often overruled by envy. Loki can't forgive Thor for being the legitimate heir of Asgard and for ruining his plans to rule it. However, when it comes to avenging their mother Frigga's death, it doesn't take much to convince the brothers to put their differences aside and join forces. When Thor goes to the dungeons and offers to break Loki out, provided he's willing to help him seek revenge, Loki agrees in a heartbeat. But he wouldn't be Loki if he tamely nodded in agreement. He takes one sharp dig at the Thunder God, telling Thor,
You must be truly desperate to come to me for help.
This banding together of the brothers counts as one of the most anticipated moments since the first Thor movie hit theaters. When it finally happens, it's a family reunion you can't help but cheer for.
Oh, this is much better. Hey, you want to have a rousing discussion about truth, honor, patriotism? God bless them.
Your death came at the hand of Laufey.
It's another dad-son moment at number 2. Loki kills his biological father Laufey to save his adoptive father Odin in 2011's Thor, telling the frost giant in his dying moments,
And your death came by the son of Odin.
an unfavored son saving his adoptive father might make for a moving movie moment, but it's a lot more complicated when Loki's in the picture. As you know by now, his resentment of Odin runs deep. Loki harbors ambitions of snatching the aging king's throne, and he isn't averse to kicking his mother and brother to the side in the process. He also has no love for Laufey, who gave him life but little else. He helps him attack Asgard only to stab him in the back at the last moment. What drives Loki's actions? It's certainly not love for Odin now, is it? Is it a twisted sense of loyalty towards the family that took him in as a baby? Well, we're not sure, are we? Is it all in pursuit of his great desire to rule Asgard? Probably most likely. Loki's behaviour is hard to read at most times, but what is plain to see, especially with this scene, is that playing the hero comes as naturally to Loki as playing tricks. Now this brings us to number 1, and what do we have here? It's Loki's death, this time in the Dark World. When the brothers face off against Curse, Loki stabs the Dark Elf in the back with a sword to save Thor, but the villain grabs hold of Loki and impales him with the same blade.
I didn't do it for him.
A dying Loki tells Thor, speaking of their father Odin. These last words are as honest as they come. This is, after all, the film that redeemed Loki after his exploits in Thor and the Avengers. It also gave him the opportunity to work with his brother instead of against him. When he dies in Thor's arms, it seems the perfect end for a character who started off as evil, but whose choices and actions were driven not by pure villainy, but by his own compelling circumstances. Of course, all of this changes at the end of the film when it's revealed that the trickster god has pulled the wool over our eyes yet again. When it comes to playing dead, no one can beat the master of fake-outs. How so? Because, as it turns out, Loki managed to cheat death not just on the Svartalfheim battlefield, but right at the Marvel and Walt Disney Studios, where his demise was originally planned to be very permanent. Well, that's it for today. What do you think of this selection of top 10 badass Loki moments? With so many wonderful moments and quotes, picking just 10 inspiring moments featuring the irrepressible trickster was quite a tough task, as I found out while I was making this video. Did I miss any? Quite likely. You can tell me by leaving a comment in the section below. Click the card on your top right to check out my Marvel movie playlist. And if you enjoyed the video, do give it a like. You can also subscribe to my channel, the TV Regent, for more superhero content and top 10s.